Welcome back to Got No Control Podcast. I am your host, Ronek, and before I introduce my special guest today, I want to give a special thank you to our sponsors that made this episode possible. Mayfresh Shop. Mayfresh Shop is a shop that offers high-quality graffiti supplies and art supplies and also custom airbrush. So make sure you give them a shot and check them out. They are located inside the Lamo Indoor Swap Meet in the city of Dominguez, so make sure to check them out at Mayfresh Shop. Also want to give a shout out to Eggshells LA. Eggshells LA is a creative studio that offers high quality stickers that bond to most surfaces. So make sure to check them out and use Got No Control as a code to receive 10% off your next order. Check them out.
Clutching AK-47s, they look ready for battle.
You already know. Eggshells.
And I'm super excited to announce our official spray can sponsor here at Got No Control Podcast, 360 Spray Paint. 360 Spray Paint is a high quality spray paint that is manufactured and distributed out of Mexico. And they aim to offer high quality spray paint to all spray paint enthusiasts, graffiti writers, street artists, and much more. So make sure to check them out. 360 Spray Paint. And with that being said, let me introduce my special guest today, Chucks. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you for having me. Ooh.
I'm happy to have you here today. Let's get into this amazing conversation. It's a great day today. So let's jump into it. For those who don't know who Chucks is, can you kind of speak a little bit about what is home for you and how did you enter this amazing world of graffiti?
Okay, so Shucks is from basically out here, 562. 562
Okay.
Basically, but originally, like we were talking, my family and everybody was basically Harbor area. So
Okay.
yeah, like my brother's from the Rancho, and my brother's from the Rancho, and then the rest of my family, everybody's from the Rancho actually. So
Okay.
I got cousins and uncles from the locals, and my brother's from Santa Cruz, and
Okay.
so all that's like a little bit of my background of.
And for anybody that might be listening to, when he says rancho, he's not talking about a cowboy hat out in the middle of nowhere on top of a horse. Rancho is Rancho San Pedro, but people use the abbreviation for rancho for many reasons. So just wanted to make that clear. We're not wearing cowboy hats out here. Maybe some people are, but not most of us. So how did you start becoming a creative individual? Like what attracted you to start becoming creative in your own way?
So I've always been an artist, always been into art,
Okay.
always comic books. So basically it was comic books when we were younger, like
Okay.
cartoons and comic books.
Okay.
That's where it really comes from. We were like big fans of Looney Tunes when we were
Yeah.
little kids, and every cartoon that came on, anything you could think of,
Yeah.
like from the 80s and 90s, that was like, big influence on us.
Is there a particular artist or comic artist that kind of got you like, man, maybe I want to get a little bit like that? Or it was,
Todd McFarlane. Todd
Okay.
McFarlane is the creator of Spawn.
Okay.
So yeah, like his stuff, it looked a lot like graffiti.
Okay.
This is like, early 90s. This is probably like 90, 91.
Okay.
Yeah, so you like looking at, we're in the comic book stores. And then Spawn and all that is barely, well, he was drawing Spider-Man first. So
Okay.
we were big on Spider-Man and
Dope.
Batman. Yeah,
Okay.
like drawing that, trying to replicate that.
Okay. And how was it growing up in the Harbor area, trying to enter the creative world? Was it something that was kind of like family members looked at it like, oh, go for it? Or was it kind of like, hey, what are you doing? Go study or something?
It's like my family is, like rooted in the like longshoremen, all that.
Yeah.
So like they're big, like my family, actually my dad comes from Mexico. My mom's from Colombia. So
Okay.
yeah, so like when my dad's family came here,
Yeah.
they went straight to San Pedro, and that's like, that's where they settled. So
Yeah.
like my family, they're just musicians and artists.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of uncles that did art, and
Okay.
music is heavy in my family.
Okay. And the family members that you said that were do art, that they kind of look at you like they were excited because the family members coming up getting into art, or was it kind of like whatever?
Yeah, no, I had other cousins too that they weren't banging, so they were basically creative types too, like drawing, like into that type of graffiti. Actually, I remember in the early 90s, probably
Yeah.
this is like 90, 91. So I'm not officially doing graph or nothing, but I had two other cousins that they were associated. They were F-dub,
Okay.
and then but they were like, you know, two of the main first members, you know.
Okay, the
And
first
then
members.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then they actually what one of them was like he showed me how to do like basic characters.
Okay.
He wrote Air from F-Dub. He actually
You said era?
Air. This is
Okay.
before actually
Okay.
Air LTS.
Okay.
Air, you know,
Yeah.
rest in peace, all that. But my cousin too is rest in peace too. So,
Okay.
yeah, he was the first one to show me like basic character styles and you know simple letters and stuff like that. Yeah.
Are these cousins responsible for introducing you to graffiti,
No.
or just kind of like helping you construct the style?
Helping me construct the style. Yeah, that
Okay.
was heavy. I remember because they were harsh. They weren't like,
Yeah.
you know, if you like criticize their shit, they'd come right back at you and
Yeah.
call you a toy
Yeah.
and, you know, be like,
Like-
you ain't even developed.
Like, who you
either,
trying to
know?
talk up, little
Yeah,
homie? Yeah.
yeah. At the time. And there was a dude actually that was like known in the Harbor area. If you remember, if anybody can remember this, was
Yeah.
his name was Fatal. And he did a lot of,
Fatal.
yeah, he did a lot of party flyers.
Okay.
Party flyers. He was ill with it.
Yeah.
You had to be from that time to remember it. Yeah, or
Okay.
have him.
And was he a writer, or he was just like doing part?
He was a writer. He did, you know, at that time it was funny because there wasn't. It's not like you can go and get, you know, any supply. You know, so
Yeah.
if you were a writer, you were in it deep. You wanted to, if you were doing pieces,
Yeah.
even if you were sick on paper, it doesn't mean you were good with the cans.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, or vice
Definitely.
versa.
Yeah.
Like you probably like busted something dope with the cans, like some
Yeah.
simple letters. But if you try to do like a wild style on paper, you didn't have it. So
Okay.
it was like that. There wasn't developed like it is now.
And what would you say introduced you to the actual art form of graffiti?
Movies,
Movies?
breakdancing, hip hop,
Okay.
breakdancing, hip hop, Beat Street,
Okay.
breaking, Electric Boogaloo. That's heavy.
So being a young child, you're watching these movies and you're telling yourself, like, damn, I want to do what they're doing over there on those trains.
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
That's it. It was that, and then when Star Wars is like, we didn't have it because it came out on PBS when I was a
Okay.
kid. I remember this.
Yeah.
The only time you would see it, there wasn't hard copies.
Okay.
You know, either some homie had it on a videotape
Yeah.
or you caught it on PBS.
And we're talking about these eras when you had the VHS and you had to go rent it
Yeah.
out and all that good stuff. It's not like going on like Instagram and seeing the clip real quick.
Oh shit! Everything's instant now.
Yeah.
Everything's instant now.
You had
Back
like
then,
Blockbuster.
It was like someone had the Holy Grail. You were
Yeah.
studying. You know, you'd be like, if somebody had a tape.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be like, please let me borrow it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And they
Well-
wouldn't let you borrow it.
No.
People who had, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was like, man, mysterious.
You got to
was-
pay me
yeah,
or
huh?
give me something to give you this VHS.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I remember Blockbuster, Hollywood Video. I remember all that good stuff. So at what age do you tell yourself, okay, I'm really gonna do this. I'm gonna construct a name for myself and I'm gonna go for it.
Dang, I had two older brothers that influenced me.
Yeah.
That were writing already before me.
Okay.
So before my brother got into the Rancho San Pedro, he was actually one of the dudes who started D2D 8 Click.
Okay.
Yeah. So they met up with some dudes that were from out here, Long Beach. They were called HR Crew. I don't know
Okay.
if anybody remembers that. They were called Hellraisers,
Yeah.
and they used to battle a local crew out here in Long Beach called DE, Destroying
yeah.
Everything. And they still get up, like some of the dudes.
Yeah.
You know, they have, and then DE supposedly is KBH. KBH, if you know a little bit of the Long Beach crews.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know
Long
of
Beach
I know of DE. I've had the opportunity to speak to some of them on a personal level.
Uh-huh.
They tell me some great stories, and you say they become KBH
Mhm.
and then HR, and then were your brothers part of this?
My brother was HR, and then they were, you know, at that time, right as he got into HR, he actually got jumped into the gang.
Okay.
So he was, you know, a little bit. I'm still young, so my brother he must have been like 13 maybe.
And
around that time.
does that affect the younger Chucks? Like looking up to your brother, like, damn, I want to get down with him, like paint like he does, and then see him enter something at another level. Does that affect you in a way?
It just it made you want to kind of, because he was doing bad. So
Yeah.
you know, at that time, it just made you see that you're like, damn, either I can go that route or
Yeah.
I can use artistic route.
Okay.
You know, and I was like I said, I was already into comics and art.
Yeah.
So I went that route. Yeah.
Okay, so what year would it be fair to say that you actually started picking up utensil and enter the graffiti?
Dang,
world?
11 years old. Yeah.
What year
I
would
was
you
already,
say this is?
I was practicing. We had a homeboy that lived on our street, and he had styles.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrote at the time I forget the name that he was writing, because they used to write different names. The 90s, it was like you could switch your name easy.
Okay.
Like, you didn't really keep a name for a long time. That's
Yeah.
not wasn't your intention.
Yeah.
It was more like building on styles, because
Yeah.
like I said, everything wasn't developed.
Yeah.
So you would switch your name if you didn't like it fast.
Yeah, you
in
just
the 90s.
working with letters, seeing what flows
Yeah.
better, throw an S here, a T here, an R here, and then just figuring it out.
Right.
I could totally understand that.
Yeah. And then that homeboy gave me a set of letters, and I must have been like about to be 11 years old,
Yeah.
because I had asked him, because I was too afraid to ask my
Okay.
brothers, like, can you break me down with some styles?
Yeah.
He actually was like, I'll give you a little sheet that you could work with.
A little
So
outline.
That's old school. Yeah.
What year would you say is this?
92.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then 92, getting into graffiti, did you mainly spend your time in San Pedro, or did you kind of move around the whole harbor?
We were more, like I said, my parents had moved in that little pocket where the Long Beach Town Center, like Wine Gardens Casino,
Yeah.
right there. That was where we lived, right
Okay.
there in that area. So I have to say, like, once, because we were already there, but
Yeah.
it was like knowing the harbor graffiti, but then the graffiti out here from this area
Yeah.
is deep rooted too. It's
Definitely.
like I don't even think that the inner city LA knows how important that this area 562 really was to the development of Los Angeles.
Yeah, I could relate, because sometimes I'm out there and then like I'll hit up like a harbor area next to a bomb or something, and I'm just like, what is that? And
Uh-huh.
I'm just
Yeah, HA.
yes,
yeah,
HA, and it's like,
yeah.
man, we're only a couple minutes away. I'm on where the 110 ends, and you're over here. So it's crazy though how not knowing.
Yeah,
Vice versa, they might say something from LA that I might not know.
yeah.
So we're both learning from each other, and I think it's a great experience.
Well, harbor area is, if people don't know that, a lot of dope styles came out of the harbor area. It's in Carson particularly, Carson, Wilmington, San Pedro, and Torrance. That
Yeah.
area is heavy, and
Definitely.
like you said, if you're from Dominguez, that's
yeah.
all you saw out there. Carson was. If you go to Carson, they even had hidden yards that people don't know. That
Oh, really?
had, pieces
Yeah.
for days.
Yeah.
They were developed.
Yeah, because I know we had guys like Dream and Green come out of Carson, Mr. Cartoon out of San Pedro. Just so many names you can name, you know what I mean? But who would you say, outside of your brothers and your close friends in your neighborhood, who were you seeing as you were coming out, getting up and being out there?
Dang, at that time I was young, so 11, 12. I didn't start. We started writing RTDs. Everything was,
Okay.
that was the bus era was just barely like, it was like dying, because it was already burnt out. It was like,
So they had RTD lines out here in the harbor?
where I lived, particularly right there in that area where I was saying,
Yeah.
by the towns of Wine Gardens, all that.
Yeah.
They had a bus route that went to downtown LA. It was the 462.
462.
Yeah, and it took you from that area all the way down to Telegraph. It would
Okay.
go down Pioneer, would go to Telegraph.
Yeah.
From Telegraph, it would go to the Citadel,
Okay.
and from the Citadel, it would jump on the freeway.
Oh, so it took
Just
a
for a
big
little
trip.
bit. It was a long ass trip. One bus ride. It would take like 2
Yeah.
hours, and then it would take you on a little ride on the freeway,
Yeah.
and get off on Fifth Street in downtown,
Yeah.
and then from Fifth Street all the way into like the layover downtown. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So you'd be in downtown LA on one bus, but that was
What was
You
what was the emotion as a young child? Like you're over here, you don't know much about LA, but you're just saying like, screw it, I'm gonna hop on this 2-hour bus, and whatever comes.
And we wanted to get at that time at Ben Davis. We
Yeah.
wanted to go to downtown LA to get Ben Davis.
Yeah.
And then we would get on the bus to go get school clothes,
Yeah.
Ben Davis, and then it would be like a double. Go catch some tags. But
Yeah.
we were, it was toys still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
And would you say that you were part of F-Dub at that time, or not really?
They would. That's the thing. My cousins they were harsh. They were, I'd be like, let me get in in the FW, they're like, you don't have it. You know, you're like, you're not tight. It made me better. I had a few people that, you know, I remember when I was young.
Okay.
That's the way that generation was. You'd be like, you know, let me be down or let me get in the crew, and they'd straight to your face be like, you're toy. You know, like, you're not tight. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to get better.
Yeah.
So, is it fair to say that FW was possibly the first graffiti crew to come out of San Pedro?
There's the others before that. There was like, you know, I can't really give anybody too much credit besides, like you said, like Mr. Cartoon. I remember, I'm not sure if he had something in that Portugal, that little strip in Portugal, but that was the spot in Pedro where if you wanted to see some dope ass graffiti, you would go there, and it was still like raw walls, gangster graffiti, and a mix of like characters, and it was dope. I can't. That's what I mean is. There's no documentation of it, so I just can barely remember in my mind
the Portugal
images. Yeah, like, you know, Jester characters, and Snoopy, and anything that you could think of that was at that time, like, you know, characters.
And you had a chance to paint the Portugal yard?
No.
Because what year did the Portugal yard get shut down?
Dang, that must have been.
Because I know it was early on.
Yeah, like maybe 96, 97. I remember they decided to like. They had the little tracks right there, and then they took it out. And they buffed it. They buffed the wall first. Yeah. But it was there forever, for years. Yep.
And no pictures, huh?
No pictures.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I've heard about the Portugal yard, and I'm just like, man, that's way before my time. I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, it was like,
and you know, as you're developing, right? You're riding the bus. You're working on your style. At any point, does New York graffiti have an impact in you?
Oh my gosh, that's what Star Wars and Beach Street.
Yeah,
that's like what we wanted to do. Paint trains. We wanted to paint like, you know, the real trains.
Yeah,
and then, you know, by the time we're like pretty deep into graph, you know, it was like the clean train era. You know? Like, yeah, when we're figuring out what modern the modern graffiti. You know? Because all you saw of New York was old school movies.
Yeah,
but you know, then you're like. Then you have magazines like Skills and a Videograph. Videograph was big.
Yeah, I've seen.
Heads don't know how heavy Videograph was. When that came out, that was another big like Videograph was.
Shout out to him for his documentation.
Damn, Carl,
it's amazing,
right? Cameraman Carl. Yeah,
it's amazing. I've seen some of his videos, and I'm just like watching them. Like, damn, this guy was really doing it back then.
Yeah, I feel like if you really love graffiti, it's just something that comes from. A past life or old, it's so deep rooted in you when you like, because I know dudes that is really their life, you know, their life. It's never, and it'll never leave that. And, you know, they'll have full families and
they're still out there
and everything. And it's graph,
graph for life.
Yeah, graph for life.
And I respect that, man. I respect everybody out there that, you know, is really passionate and dedicated to the art form, because it takes a big dedication to become old and still be a writer.
It's a full-time job if you're bombing. But if you know, piecing is like, you could be a weekend warrior. But, you know, legal beagle. But bombing is like, you know, that's, everyone knows how much it takes to get your ass out, like, you know what I mean, and go.
Yeah, bro. It's something that if you have never done, it's hard to explain, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to explain the drilling and the being out there and getting into all kinds of stuff and seeing all kinds of stuff. It's an adventure.
It's the crazy, it's that, you know, it's like you're really alive when, you know, like real writers know that's, you could be a drinker and go out and party and live a wild life, you know, you could be like good looking and get all the girls and do all that type of shit, but it still doesn't even compare to the feeling that graph would give you. No, that heads, you know, wouldn't know. Someone who doesn't write graffiti, they wouldn't know the feeling that.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And entering LA, right? So you're entering LA as a young kid. Do writers out there? Do you run into writers out there?
Yep, running into writers. We were at the time I was writing Dell. I wrote Dell first before I wrote Shucks.
Yeah,
I wrote Dell, like Dell, the rapper.
Okay,
yeah, like you know, I remember that was like my letter scheme when I, you know, even we were listening to hip hop, so you know, Dell was big. Mr. Dabalina, Dr. Bombay. We used to watch all the videos.
Yeah,
and just because I like that name, I started writing that. But I had a name before that. I wrote Zephes, actually. My first name is Zephes. It was basically Zephyr, you know, like a mix of some of the letters that I like out here.
You said it was Zephes?
Zephes, yeah. It was a funny. See that? Okay, I have to say this. In the 90s, you picked a name that you can switch up the letters. So it was Zefes, and then I could use the PH.
Yeah.
You know, that's that, I don't know if heads, you know, that's
I
just,
remember.
yeah. At the time, that was
Yeah.
what was, you know, like, let me switch it up. You know, so
Was it hard kind of being around a circle that kind of didn't know where you came from? Like being in LA and they're like, well, who's this guy? Oh, I come from over here. Was that kind of like an issue or was it all mutual?
Yeah, it was at first, you know, like when actually, because it was different reactions. You would meet people, and then they were
Yeah.
like, "Nah, you ain't really LA." But that's like saying, like, certain areas like Norwalk and
Yeah.
you know, those areas aren't LA because it's not inner city, you know. But
Yeah.
they really are, like Southgate and those type of, you
Yeah.
know, it's not downtown LA, but that's LA, you know.
Yeah.
So you know,
I think it's Nella, no? Like Northeast LA or something like that?
it's southeast.
Southeast.
Yeah, southeast. So you know, you know, they got some crazy ass hoods that are deep rooted in
Yeah.
gangster shit too, which is,
Yeah.
you know, the Norwalk, it's Norwalk, Artesia,
Bell
Bell
Gardens.
Gardens,
Oh,
all that
yeah.
is, you know, that's not downtown inner city LA, but that's Los Angeles, and that's rooted in uh Chicano culture, Mexican culture, you
Yeah.
know, graffiti is big in that, you know, like I remember I had a homeboy, I remember probably like in the 2000s. Oh, I have to say Rifle, okay? I don't know if you remember Rifle.
Yeah, Rifle used to pin out here in Long Beach.
Well, he was like my youngster, you know, so like he was like my young homie that basically got into graffiti through us. You know?
Okay.
He was like a skater homie.
Yeah.
And he turned it to straight like graph, you know what I mean? He was a graphaholic.
It's crazy because being the kid, he had a piece right here at the riverbed in Long Beach. It was a Rifle and Eli.
Rifle, I have, man, can we talk about Rifle a little? He was when he started writing, he came out, you know, fucking, you know, full blast.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I think he at that time, that was like, dang, 2000 and
Shout out Rifle, by the way.
shout
man.
out Rifle,
Wherever you at, man.
2004 and 5. He came out swinging, man, and he at that time there was a video, State Your Name. I know I know a lot of people know that, but you know, he loved the throw up style, the New York throw up style.
I remember.
So he made a little throw up, and he went wild with that, and he actually influenced mostly like LA after his throw up.
Yeah.
Doing the little faces that he would do in it, and the variations of the throw up. You know, I can't tell you how many people copied the little faces that he would do, the E's and the stuff from this day on.
I remember.
People still copy his style.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, you know?
Yeah, shout out Rifle, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that piece was dope. I remember it was a silver shading with a black outline, but it had massive detail.
Yeah. And he got good fast. He progressed fast. Yeah. Rifle was a trip. He just had it. Like, you know, as soon as you showed him, he was like, oh man,
I'm on.
Yeah.
So you're riding the bus, you're still working on your tags, you're developing, and how long till you tell yourself like this is something I'll pursue long term?
I have to give another little section segue with the homie Puzzle. Because I have to say, Puzzle is actually the guy that influenced the people in our circle.
Yeah.
He was the best at the time.
Okay.
He was fucking light years beyond. I have to say this.
Okay.
Puzzle came from Paramount.
Okay.
And then he moved to where I was saying, like,
Long Beach.
where we lived, Long Beach. And then he had an older brother that they were already into like graffiti out there and stuff like that. But since he was from Paramount, he had a different style than everyone that we knew. He was just the best. He had the best tags, the best throw ups. He was ill with it. You know, before anyone can even say, like, there were styles developed. He knew how to catch tags in the daytime. You know, like, I mean, it was just crazy. He showed everybody, like, out here how to really get down, like how to catch, you know, tags on poles on the street. And so there was a different type of bombing and tagging that he showed us, you know,
different
how
method.
how to bomb the buses, how to scribe. I remember he was like the scribe king. He would go, you know, he shout out to Puzzle, man.
Shout out Puzzle.
He really is one of the like innovators of out here. And then he got locked up, and at that time that's when we were just exploring all the yards out here. They had a yard in Norwalk. Oh, Norwalk! Shout out Norwalk! I have to say this, Norwalk. Those dudes don't play in that city where they come from. They're like, graph is big in the city of Norwalk.
So you were running into the yards out there?
Yeah, because the bus would take you to Norwalk. So the 462 went through Norwalk.
The opposite route.
No, there and back.
Oh, okay.
So you would meet heads from Norwalk all the time on the bus, or they had a yard called Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
that was
Park.
close to Rosecrans.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like a encircled like concrete. I don't know what they used it for. It was in a field.
Yeah.
And it just had walls, concrete walls.
Oh wow.
And it was scary because at that time, the graph wasn't like the way it is now. You know, like it's so mainstream, and you might get away with some, illegal action that looks legal. And that yard there was only one entrance in, and one entrance in, one is out. So if the
That's a
cops
tough
came
one.
in, yeah.
And what were you seeing in the Jurassic? You said Jurassic.
Jurassic Park.
Jurassic Park.
Yeah. It was a PhD. I have to give a shout out to Jester PhD.
Shout out Jester
Oh my
PhD.
God, Jester PhD.
Yeah.
I'm giving him his flowers right now because that dude, he used to climb out on the train bridges when nobody was down.
Wow.
He had the train bridges first when they were raw.
Yeah.
He'd go up there with a silver and a black and
By himself.
By himself. And
Shout out him, man.
Jester. That was heads don't even remember that.
Man, that's crazy. I remember seeing his stuff.
Yeah.
Who else were you see right there in Jurassic Park?
Let's see. I have to give a shout out to. I can't remember if they had pieces in there first, but I have to say Cerritos area and NASA crew.
Oh yeah, man.
Just 195. That's my boy. All Zeus. They're responsible for a lot of development too in LA.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're not inner city LA. They're outskirts of LA.
Yeah,
but,
NASA was.
Everybody should know what NASA has done. Rich, Just, those
shout out
them
guys.
Yeah, those good dudes. They were doing wild styles when no one even. Yeah,
I see some of their stuff, and I was like, these guys, they were rocking back then.
And Dove and Fear.
I
gotta give a shout out to Dove and Fear.
Shout out Fear, man. We had him in here. Much love.
Okay, Dove is my boy.
Yeah,
Dove is like my. That's like he was a mentor.
Okay,
he gave me styles too.
Oh, shout out him for
Dove.
Because some guys won't kick down on knowledge. So just be like,
man, I went to his house. That was another thing. Back then you'd go to like an older writer's house.
Yeah,
and it was like you'd be like, damn, this dude's the real deal. They kept photos. They had art on their wall.
Yeah,
and this was before like now. There's collectors and there's everything, prints, and everybody sells everything and T-shirts. But if you went to a homie's pad, older homies, he had stuff.
Yeah,
you were like, mesmerized. Can I see more of your photos?
It was more exclusive than now.
They kept photo albums and stuff like that, And I remember the first time I went to his house, I met him through a friend. I had a homeboy he lived in La Palma.
Yeah,
and at that time I think they lived in that area.
Okay,
and then I don't know how they met through like their dads or something like that, right? I don't know what it was. And then he was like, I know this dude Dove. You got to check him out. And I'm like, I know who Dove is, right? And then he one day he came with a piece. That he had asked him, can you do a piece on my homeboy's name? And he did a piece for me.
Yeah,
a Dell piece. And I lost it. I don't know.
Damn.
It was one of the dopest pieces, I have to say. And from there, I was like, yeah, how do I meet this dude and go chill with him? And my homie Mike arranged it. He didn't even go with me that day. I just went to Dove's pad, and he was just like welcoming, like, "What's up, little homie?" Like,
man, shout out Dove for opening the doors to you,
for real.
Because he could be like, "Nah, if you don't come with that for you, I don't want him here."
I have to give love to Dove. Yeah. And then him and Fear were some of the first ones to paint trains out here. They had a train yard, that's famous now, but they were the first ones to actually
when we had Fear in here, we had a good conversation, and he shed a lot of light on that, being from Bellflower and b-boy and all that stuff. So
yeah, see that's he's L.A., but that's not downtown L.A. But that's L.A. Like a lot of the dope graph writers don't come from. I mean, I can't say that. A lot of dope writers just come out of here.
I hear you.
LA.
So being on this side of town, what did you guys have as far as like? Did you guys have like hip hop shops back then, or did you have a shop where you could grab some stuff at, like as far as painting utensils? Or?
Michael's home base,
yeah.
Home Depot. You had to steal everything. Yeah. That's the difference. Chief Auto Parts.
Yeah,
we had a place called Chief Auto Parts in where I lived right there. You kind of like rack a little.
Yeah,
and then home base was a trip because in the early 90s they didn't have cages, so you could rack. And then, if you knew what you were doing, you can come up.
So down here in the harbor, you didn't have nothing like, I know like LA had Hex with the hip hop shop and stuff.
I went to the hip hop shop when it was like in its last year. We used to take the bus. Yeah. We learned how to take the bus from downtown LA to Melrose.
Yeah.
That's another section, a big section of the graph, which we can talk about too, the Melrose era. Because in Melrose, that was CBS. And I mean, that was where everybody wanted to be because they had, I have to say, Mir from CBS.
Yeah.
I mean, he was CBS. He's WCA, but I mean, he was CBS at the time, and his shit was next level.
Okay.
Next level. Beyond. Mirror is one of the best to me. One of the best. One of the best.
I remember riding the Metro Blue line and then hopping on the red line and then still catching a bus just to get to the alleys from home.
Yeah.
It used to be a mission, bro.
Oh my God. I lived in Pedro a few years.
Yeah.
For a few years back, and then I would have to take the bus to downtown LA. I'm like, damn, this shit is crazy.
It's
Yeah,
that
like,
far.
yeah.
I was like, man, but we would do it, bro.
Yeah.
And would you say maybe Lions and Air Graphics was the first thing we had out here as far as like graffiti or shop?
Lions was, and it was. I remember when it was across the street where the record store is at now, Fingertips.
Yeah.
It was like that art store. It was a trip because you couldn't rack from there, but
Yeah.
they had like.
But they had stuff.
I have to say this: if you're originally from Long Beach area, Faisal, there was a mall in Long Beach, in downtown Long Beach, and they had a Hallmark in there that
Okay.
sold streakers and pilots, and no matter your age, you can buy them, even though they weren't allowed to sell.
Yeah.
That type of stuff to minors.
Yeah.
You would still go in and be able to buy as many streaks, and so that was the spot. Basically, you'd go to downtown Long Beach on the bus, and
Yeah.
then buy streakers. You would buy streakers
Oh, wow.
and pilots.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that was the closest thing to having the marker selection. And then like if you wanted cans and shit, there wasn't fancy cans. They didn't come till later. That was like the later 90s.
Yeah, no, the Montana thing was kind of a little bit iffy because people were saying that nobody was going to pay that much amount for a can. And
At that time, and then people were still able to rack. You
Yeah.
still had the selections of Rusto and Krylon.
and then you look at it now and it's like it took off.
Oh my God, I remember. Yeah, they say that the Montana and all that came out in 93, 94.
Yeah.
But it didn't hit over here till like 96, 97, and that
Yeah.
barely anybody had them.
Yeah, it was,
had
it
the
was very
grid.
exclusive.
Uh-huh.
And I remember the Belton getting down here too.
Oh, Belton was. I remember everybody would trip on the can because it had like a
It had like 3 marbles or
yeah.
something in there.
Oh man,
And you were
but
shaking.
Very few people had them. Yeah.
So, you entering graffiti in the 90s, right? And I don't know if I'm pretty sure you're aware, but there was writers in the LA surrounding areas prior to the 90 writers, right? Like you had guys that started like in the 80s or whatever. What do you think made the 90 writers a bit different from those writers?
From the 80s writers?
Yeah, like the very beginning of like the LA writers, right? You had like guys like the original guys like from K2S or the early WCAs or whatnot. Do you think there's something that separated the 90 writers from those guys?
In the 90s, you had in the 80s they did like there's the style was very like I don't know how to say it, like they were trying to do like a futuristic style,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But since everything wasn't developed, like it was fresh. But in the 90s, I think it was more like the piecing wasn't heavy until the late 90s. So that like from 90 to like 95,
Yeah.
it was like partner bombing. So
Okay.
it was like Chico and Bruin,
Yeah.
and has like Chrome and 125.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then you would see like I would see Pistol and those dudes up on train tracks.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we'd go through Compton and stuff like that. We would take the 60 bus.
Okay.
It would go down Long Beach Boulevard, and then the 60 would take you into Huntington Park.
How was it bumping into everybody? I mean, was everything mutual? Like, hey, what's up, bro? I ride, or was it kind of like?
It was like it wasn't too friendly.
Like, who's this guy
It wasn't
coming
too
over here?
friendly. Yeah, and then but then, so the 90. Let's see. We were already going to LA. We were already going to Melrose,
Yeah.
and we had met. This was like 95, 96. We had met Anger, Gasoline, a few other dudes that were there that day. They were painting a famous wall on Melrose, which
Okay.
is on La Brea and Melrose.
Okay.
And it was a Aaron Brothers, I think, at the time, but
Okay.
that was a famous wall on Melrose. There's a Jiffy Lube in front of it now, but
Okay.
it was an empty lot, so you would see it on the bus. That's where you would get off on the bus on
Yeah,
Melrose.
yeah.
You would take the bus from downtown LA. You would take the 10 into Melrose, and then you would get off at that particular wall. And that day they were painting. They would paint it, and then we met everybody that day, and actually that day Revoke and Yem walked up to the wall too, which they were AM7 at the time.
AM7.
Yeah. I don't even think Revoke was MSK at the time. So
Okay.
yeah, if you remember Yem was a big guy in the Melrose area too.
And then they got down on that wall as well.
No, they just walked up that day, which is crazy because I was just fun. It's funny that era that now they're all legends, yeah,
Yeah.
rock stars,
Yeah.
and then
They took it to the next level.
Anger, actually, he was already like big and intimidating, and he yelled in our faces, "What the fuck, you guys right?" Was I supposed to cuss?
No, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were all shook, but we still claimed it. We were like, "We right, whoop whoop," and then he lightened up. He was cool. It was funny, but he was just messing with us, testing us. Yeah, he's like that,
Okay.
And then I later got into CBS, but should we go into that?
Yeah,
So then, um,
was CBS your first crew you entered?
no, we were PSK in the 90s, which is
PSK was from this side of town?
Pod Squad. Yeah, it was like
Pod Squad?
like blazing weed, and then it was like we were taking LSD and shit at the time.
And then entering the LA, the more inner city, you could say, you kind of started meeting people and enter CBS.
No, what happened was, I have to say, I ended up going to school in Orange County for a little because I wasn't allowed to go to one of the schools. We were already like tagging, so we got caught tagging in the school, and then so I'm in Orange County now, and I meet Drugs. I met Drugs, and Drugs was living in Buena Park. Drugs was living in Buena Park.
He's no longer with us, right?
No, God rest in peace, Drugs.
Rest in peace.
God bless Drugs. That's my real homeboy. When I met him, that's a funny story too, because like I said, we were writing PSK, and then I had a homie that lived in La Palma.
Okay.
That's who introduced me to Dove, right?
Okay.
That homie.
Yeah.
And we were living in La Palma, and then he had a ditch behind his house that we went and bombed in, and we went over some shit. At that time, everything was so petty. You couldn't even go over people's tags. So we went over some tags we were doing fillings. We did like some, all extravagant. We thought we were all dope. And then it got dissed by the dudes in that area, and that crew was called TAB. Orange County Graffiti was way different than LA Graffiti. I come from, the LA section. So when I went to Orange County, they were like a few years behind.
Okay.
I say graffiti goes in every 4 years. There's a different era every 4 years. So if you think about it, it's, like if you went from the 80s, it would be like 82 to 86, and then from 86 to 90, and from 90 to 94, from 94 to 98.
And this is where you met Drugs in Orange County?
I met Drugs in Orange County. We were beefing with his crew, the crew that he was in at the time.
Which is
TAB. And he wasn't writing drugs at the time. He wrote L25. He was taking a lot of drugs.
Okay.
Which is how he got the name Drugs.
Yeah.
He was taking a lot of drugs, a lot of substances and stuff like that. He was always tripping on LSD. And I met him at a party it was like a youth center.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like a youth center, and they were throwing like a party, and it was like hip hop, break dancing and shit like that. And he showed up on LSD, like frying balls, sweating profusely, and he was heavy at the time. And he like walks up to me. I don't know how he knew me. I was drawing in a book actually. And then he came up and he's like, "Yo, I know you write Del, right?" And then I'm like, "Yeah." And he was like, "You beefing with all my homies." And somehow that day I went to his house that night.
Yeah.
I ended up staying the night at his house. That's how fast we became friends. Like he was just like, "You should come to my pad," and we'll chill for a little bit. And then I ended up staying the night. I think the next day we even were like just kicked it all day, because he was like, he was like interested in me.
Yeah.
And I was tripping that he had already done pieces, because kids were tagging and doing throws, but he had already did pieces. Yeah, I'm like, damn, okay, you're advanced. Yeah, I thought I was advanced out of my and then he was like the advanced one.
Yeah.
And then we instantly clicked. And Drugs had a way to when he met people, he was like, he would, whatever he wanted to like do as far as like in graffiti and stuff like that, he would meet people that would take him to where he needed to go do it. He was one of the first dudes I knew that traveled. He would travel to do graffiti. He went to San Diego and met heads, and and that's why I'm in the crew TV from San Diego, because because of him. Yeah, but TV is like one of the first like deep graffiti crews
Deep rooted graffiti in
in
San
San
Diego.
Diego.
Okay.
Yeah, those dudes are like no joke. They're
Okay.
that's when you think of San Diego, if you don't know TV, yeah,
So
like,
drugs makes himself down to San Diego, meets TV guys, and then brings you in.
but before TV, I have to say that this is what I was saying. So we're in Orange County, and how the whole CBS thing was. He had met up with Olay and Posh, which
Okay.
he met. We there was a place in Orange County called Coos Cafe.
Coos Cafe.
Coos Cafe. I don't know if everybody if you were there, you remember.
Yeah.
And they threw punk shows. It was a house.
Yeah.
It was a house on Main Street, and they threw punk shows. It was just the weirdest place because they had like stores on the side of it,
Yeah.
and then there was just that house, like an old fashioned Victorian house or something like
Yeah.
that. And they let you do pieces in the back.
Oh,
So they
okay.
threw punk shows and hip hop shows and open mics and stuff like that. And then we would go there to watch hip hop and stuff, and then we would paint the walls.
Okay.
So people would remember that. If you're from that era, you would remember that Coos Cafe was big. So that was where you can go and paint in the day or even at night. Like
Okay.
and then watch shows, hip hop,
Dope.
like that. So hip hop, and then I think Drugs met Posh and Olay through Coos Cafe or
Okay.
painting or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And that was in Santa Ana.
Okay.
It was Santa Ana. Shout out Santa Ana. Santa Ana is like deep in the same as gang, Chicano culture, Mexican culture, all that. And
Yeah, man, I've gone down there and the funk is heavy and
funk heavy. Oh my God. They're like, and they have a big graffiti history and all that.
Yeah, I know they have a graph shop out there that's heavily influenced with the graffiti culture down there as well.
Yeah.
So
the
yeah, man.
homie, hey, they got styles down there. Santa
Yeah,
Ana,
yeah.
they got styles.
Shout out Santa Ana.
Uh-huh. And then, so from there, knowing Posh and Olay, they were already in CBS.
Okay.
They were in CBS.
Yeah.
And Olay lived in Anaheim, like deep in Anaheim.
Yeah.
In Anaheim. And we would go to his house and watch graph videos and paint and draw and watch, crazy shit and be on psychedelics. And his parents were truck drivers and would be gone most of the time.
Okay.
So, my bad, Olay, if I put you on blast about that, but
That's all good.
that was my brother, and we used to hang out all the time and paint and skate and all that. Yeah, because we skated a lot too. We were skateboarders at the time. Yeah.
And you guys are hanging out, skateboarding, and does that lead to you guys entering CBS?
Yeah, what happened was we started hanging out a lot with Posh, and they were older already. They were like older, not I don't want to say you guys are old, but Posh and Olay already had like a specific style that it was, like at that time, nobody could copy. You had your own style.
Yeah.
Right? You had your own individual style that made you. So those dudes had like crazy style, and they, for some reason, it just felt like the CBS vibe. But we didn't know heads from CBS besides them, like personally.
Yeah.
We had met them at Melrose, but we didn't know them like that. And then Posh and Olay started inviting us to Melrose to paint. We were already painting Melrose. We were already painting Melrose on.
But now you're rolling with some CBS
now we're
members.
rolling with CBS heads. Yeah. And then so like we're getting to know everybody. It's like dang. Then they invite us to a meeting.
Okay.
And the meeting was, it was like fucking all rock stars. Everybody you could think of. Yeah. It was like.
Did you get to meet Skate?
Skate had passed away.
Okay.
But we were already new. Like I said, since we were already like a big graffiti heads, we knew about Skate, CBS, City Bomb Squad. That was, like from our area, that they influenced us. You know, we would go and see that, and like when we'd be in downtown LA, you'd be like, damn, CBS. There was like, UTI and all those dudes. They've always been there. All that's always been there. So like.
And during this meeting, you guys are asked to join.
Yeah, we got it. No, we didn't get asked, actually. We had to wait a little bit, and they put us on probation. So not at that meeting, actually. We were just there partying. It was everybody you could think of at that time that was really good in CBS. It was Fever, Tran, Mir, NATO. Man, I can go on forever. Everybody was there. Gasoline was there. I mean, Gasoline was already like established, like killing shit.
Okay.
I had met MODOK and I forgot who else. MODOK and someone else. And we were painting a fire escape in downtown LA, and I was writing Dell. I wasn't even in CBS yet. But, they were all like in downtown all the time. If you were in downtown at night, you would meet heads. You would meet like Gasoline. You would run into heads. You were really bombing.
Hey, what's up, bro?
And it's funny because I didn't keep the name, so it's like people really wouldn't even remember unless you would, because I used to catch fire escapes and all that out there too.
Oh, dope.
Yeah.
And when you say they were put on probation, what does that specifically
We
mean?
had to go just kind of like prove ourselves, go kill shit. We had to like, basically more on in the LA area, like that side, like 101 freeway, like
But
go kill some of that area.
being in probation, does that give you the okay to like throw up a CBS bomb?
No,
Or
that was the thing. People would fuck up and do that. I have to say, like, I knew a lot of heads that they would throw them on probation,
yeah,
and then they would start like writing CBS right away, and they're like, nah, you can't get in. That was hey, they had integrity. CBS
yeah.
had like they had things that they at that time it was like they really had a good reputation for being the best.
How important do you think it is to you, in your personal opinion, like entering a crew? Do you think these steps should still be applied to today, or it should be more like, oh, he knows my friend, we know each other, okay, you can get on?
Well, dang, see, I left this part out. I'm sorry. Shout out BTP Crew, bombed the planet,
Yeah.
and everybody, the dudes from that were living in Santa Ana at the time was Meeks, Explode is CBS. Do you know who
Okay.
Explode is?
Explode. Not off the top of my
Okay,
head.
shout out Explode. He's a styler. He's from CBS, but they were first how we were all associated with Posh, Olay, Drugs, Meeks, Explode, all
Yeah.
them. We had a crew called BTP that
Oh, that you guys
it was
started?
Bomb the Planet.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So no, the Posh started it.
Okay,
and
Posh started.
Yeah. So we were in their crew first for a long time. That's when we started painting Melrose with them.
Yeah.
But we were BTP, like strictly BTP.
Yeah.
And then we started going to CBS stuff. And then eventually me and Drugs got into CBS.
So it's the procedure to enter
Yeah.
CBS.
Oh shit.
So I guess back to my question, going through this whole procedure to enter this, which I would call Brotherhood to a certain extent. How important do you think that is to apply to today? Like, do you think it's still a positive and creative thing to have guys, if they want to enter the crew, go through stuff like that? Or do you think it should just be more laid back?
It's like preference, like but you do create bonds with these writers, with
Yeah.
these heads forever. Like, Anger, CBS shot, that's
Yeah.
my bro. Like, I met him through someone else, and then we're still like, like friends
Yeah.
to this day. I've done like, I remember those years, and there's been times where we didn't hang out. There was years where we didn't hang out, but
Yeah.
you just end up, you're like homies for life, friends
Okay.
for life. Yeah, bro.
And did you stay CBS and TV for the amount of time, or did you?
So the CBS thing didn't last that. It was like a week. I got in around 97.
Okay.
And then around 99, I was like trying to figure out, trying to get life together. So
Yeah.
that was the first time I'd ever taken a break on graph. Not that I wasn't writing.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure about the name I was writing anymore. It was
Okay.
like things were changing in life, obviously, right?
Yeah,
And then
definitely.
you have to get all that stuff together. And then when I was like kind of like gone for a little bit, like MIA, like just a few months.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then I get a hold of Anger, and then him and Drugs they have like they're going through some
Some issues.
some issues.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, damn, I'm just gonna separate myself from everything. Even
Yeah.
at the time, I didn't hang out with Drugs a lot, but that was still my bro. It's
Yeah.
just like I was just doing my own thing.
How was it having to say goodbye to a brother like that, like Drugs?
Man, it was hard. I was one of the first ones to get the information, like
Yeah.
to know that he passed away.
Because
And
I know
then-
what that feeling is, and how, if you don't mind, just
Hey, Drugs. You had to know him. He was a trip. Like he was a big dude.
Yeah.
He was a force, and his personality was just as big as him. Like
Okay.
he was a trip. He was just down for like life.
Yeah, definitely.
And then there were times when we didn't talk because he was doing shit, just
Yeah.
doing dirt. You know what I'm saying?
Doing-
it wasn't graph related.
yeah.
Doing other dirt.
May
yeah.
he rest in peace,
Yeah,
man.
God bless him. Yeah.
And looking back at your whole journey and this amazing world of graffiti, is there something that you regret doing or not doing?
Dang. I like being and seeing the different eras and people come and go.
Yeah.
It's like you're always gonna. It's like to be a legend. Now it means so much more, and it takes like long. It takes longer to be a legend because
Yeah.
everything's like there were so many different stages and eras before you. Even if you think that you were like
The first one to do it, it's already been
it's
done.
like, it's already been done. Yeah.
How do you feel about those guys that are hanging themselves from buildings right now?
That's Yo, like I don't know. It makes you as you get older, you're like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna be rappelling down buildings, but like
Like
you're like,
there's some
damn,
straight
this is
ninjas, man.
fucking next level.
That's next
Yeah,
level,
that's just
man. I
crazy.
was watching those videos a couple of months ago, and I'm like, respect to each his own, but that's next level.
Yeah, it's dope. Yeah, man. I mean, graphics is gonna live forever. But if you've lived in a certain place too long, you start thinking, like, dang, I want to travel. I want to see other graffiti around the world or do it in other places.
Have you
Because
had the opportunity to?
a little bit, a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, New
Okay.
York. I go to New York every year, and I got
Okay.
made like good connections out there, and
Okay.
it was welcoming to us. But we bomb out there and stuff like that. And I don't want to say
How
that
is
I'm all
it?
Mister like sick bomber because I'm like a well-rounded writer. I
Okay.
like it all. I'm like that deep, heavy in it. Where
How was it going to like one of the places that was the main influence, like the motherland for
New York.
graffiti?
If you haven't been to New York, if you're a writer and you haven't been to New York, then I don't think you really, yeah, you haven't really done it. New York is a whole different beast.
Yeah,
That's the real, like I feel like that's the center of the graffiti world.
definitely.
Yeah, you go there and you're like, damn, graffiti's here to stay. It's not like LA. LA goes hard on the buff.
Yeah,
LA
yeah.
is like the craziest place on the buff. Yeah. Worse than any probably like country or state,
Yeah,
like yeah, LA just so, but not now. Things
okay,
have changed. You go to
definitely.
downtown LA and it's like
Everything is
everything's killed.
yeah.
It
It's like
feels like the early 90s, but more, now even more like chunkier. Like before it was like tags. You would see walls where they were like tagged, all tagged up, a few little bombs and stuff.
yeah,
But now it's like everybody can bomb and do, like the letter developments out there. The
definitely, yeah,
cans are faster,
yeah.
you know.
Who would you put on your top 5 list when it comes to graffiti writers in LA? Your top 5. You could put yourself in there too.
Damn. It's categories like bombers, and piecers, or
Let's
or
say
what?
style writer. Your top 5.
All right.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, that's you put me on the spot right there. I'm trying to think of like, if we're thinking like the early years, it's gonna be um like skill from UTI.
Okay.
He had a style that was it's like particular to the the UTI style.
Okay.
When you see that,
Yeah.
that was amazing. To because you couldn't do it unless you were like uh, you grew
There.
up with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's that style
You have to
was
be part of the circle.
yeah, and then there was a in the era when we're first piecing in that style like from LA. I have to say like a lot of the SH dudes,
SH.
Asylum and it was Asylum, Swank, Acme.
Okay.
Those dudes were, like we used to love all that stuff when we would see it. It was
Okay.
yeah, like
So,
LOD, SH, and then
shout out all them guys.
yeah, all those dudes. And then shit. If I was gonna put someone in the top, man, I can't even really like Tyke,
Okay.
and he's not really. I don't know if he even considers himself. But okay, so Tyke is definitely he changed the game.
Okay.
Tyke AWR,
Yeah, yeah.
and then
Some heavy hitters there,
dang, hey,
man.
Revoke. You can't hate like Revoke is
He
really
definitely
is.
took it to a whole
Dang.
nother level.
Yeah, he's like, he's the most famous to me, and he really did it.
Okay.
He really did it. So Revoke had the dope styles. Saber. I gotta say Saber. Damn. Saber for sure.
Yeah,
Saber,
yeah, definitely.
because he was doing pieces on illegal spots that were like next level.
Yeah, man. I just seen what he posted about. They went over his mural that's been up forever in downtown LA.
Yeah.
I think believe it's an art district, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. There's see, I don't know. I can't even do like a top five, but there was a lot of people for the piecing and stuff like that. It was like Crush, a lot of AWR stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, AWR was dope too. We would go to Motor Yard
Yeah.
and there, it was like dope shit in there. Always, that was different.
Rock and
West
stuff.
LA shit. Oh my God, their pieces. Yeah, Motor Yard was sick. You would go there and yeah, like man, it was just. They see that was the yard. 90s were like yards,
Yeah, yeah.
But like the LA dudes, if they're still around, it's like
Before we get up on out of here, brother, I just got one more question for you. When it came to battles and the graffiti, did you take part in any battles in your journey in the graffiti world?
I battled a few people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was, like
How was your experiences? I mean, you don't gotta say names of who you battled, but how were those experiences like? How do people go about choosing who wins and back
yeah.
then?
Yeah, that was, you would get like a third party to kind of judge it,
Yeah,
and then, they didn't want to hurt everyone's feelings,
yeah,
so it would be like sometimes they, like I was in a battle that, I felt I won,
yeah.
and then it was like kind of like a draw basically,
But would you guys battle for like cans or
It was
money?
cans, yeah,
Okay.
but like no one really took any of that serious unless it was like they were honorable, so
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
would be like, yo, like it was for the crew, so our honors at stake, like in person, if it was just two individual dudes, sometimes there wouldn't be any payment at the end or nothing like that because it's just,
Yeah.
what if we, like, nah, I ain't doing it,
But it's healthy for the culture. It's kind of like rap battles, you know.
competition, man. That's graffiti's all competition.
It gets you
Yeah,
better.
friendly competition. Yeah,
You're out for fame.
Mhm.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's being out for fame.
Exactly.
Is there anybody out there that you want to give a shout out to, brother?
Damn, just the crews, UDM crew, TV, the crew TV, right? San Diego.
Yeah,
Because there's other crews out here to try to write it, but it's
yeah,
not. It's
yeah, yeah.
the original crews from TV from San Diego, and then damn ACK crew, which I'm from.
ACK,
Yeah, TDS, which is a New York crew, which
TDF.
is the Death Squad. They're like famous,
Okay,
like this part and Coast and Ree, and there's a lot of dudes out there, but from New York. You got to know the
definitely.
graffiti. Yeah.
What can the audience see in the future from Chucks? What's next?
Man, maybe, man, my name in lights. Nah, it's just I'm a lifer. I'm gonna be in graffiti forever, even if
Yeah.
like whatever wherever life takes me, I'm still gonna be probably do I'll catch tags when I'm 70. I know I will.
Do you have a main goal? Like, I don't know. Maybe I know you said in lights, but a specific goal, like maybe I don't know.
I actually I paint. I'm a like real artist. So
Yeah.
now, aside from graffiti, I do a lot of canvas painting and
Yeah.
murals actually that don't even like it don't have a graffiti style,
Yeah,
but I can do like other type of mural work.
fine art and stuff.
Yeah, fine art that takes me, like I'll probably, like I've already been in that forever, but I have other, things other hustles that prevent me from putting all my time into one
Okay,
thing.
definitely.
But
You stay
I'll
creative in
always
all
be an
media.
artist. Yeah, I'll always
Yeah.
be creative and trying to make money off that.
So before we get up out of here, brother, what can you say to that kid that wants to enter graffiti today? Last question for you. That says, you know
Eh,
what? I just seen Chucks on this interview. I want to be like him.
You can do it. You're gonna, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot, man. But everything's, at your, just you have it all at your reach, So if you want to do it, you might have to go through different stages of, like good and bad.
And is it fair to call you Harbury original?
You can call me a Harvard. Yeah, you can call me a Harvard area. I just want to say like a 562 area. Like that's definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. Harbor area is 310 and 213, but I'm
Five
saying,
six two follows under the harbor.
yeah, a little bit. And then
Yeah.
I'm saying, because where I like I was saying, this area used to be 213.
Yeah, yeah,
So
definitely.
they switched it to 562. But you know what I'm saying, since I'm
Yeah,
a
you get
roamer
you
about
get the
here,
mold
yeah,
well,
I'll
the
say
mold guys.
I like to
homie.
rep the 562. Yeah.
Well, thank you for stopping by,
Yeah,
man. I
thank
really
you, man.
appreciate your time, and it was a great conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure to check out 360 Spray Paint at 360 California on Instagram. And also, make sure to check out our website, gotnocontrol.com. Check out the merch. We got sweaters, shirts, and much more. Make sure to check that out and check out the Patreon. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.